I think my favorite scene was probably being on the bridge with the guys and listening to them make jokes off camera about having to carry me. It was hard to keep a straight face while we filmed that because they were so brilliant. Their sort of escalating disaster comedy, they're brilliant. It was really fun. We're lucky, we have a lot of funny people on that set. It keeps the energy going, you know? So every day it was somebody new. You know, Sharon McGuire, who directed the film, she's quite funny. And it is so much fun to hear her losing it behind the camera in the other room. There's nothing more satisfying than entertaining yourself doing these physical comedy bits and hearing Sharon laughing. I mean, it's the most fun. And, you know, Emma Thompson's no schlub either, you know? And Colin, Patrick, they're very witty.
There was one sort of Bridget moment that I had, which was what I got my foot stuck in the mud as I pick her up, and I'm supposed to be so, you know, gallant, and I pull her up, and then I realize oh no, I can't move my feet. I just got sucked into the mud, and then I fell over backwards, and she landed on top of me. And unfortunately, I had one set of clothing left, and that was it. And I think Sharon was quite upset with me that I didn't quite pull it off.
I suppose the one that makes me laugh most is trying to squeeze a folder in half through that revolving door. You know, funny to watch them to do. Nothing Bridget or Renee does makes me cringe. You know, I do have an embarrassment threshold, but it's not quite as low as Mark Darcy's.
I gave Patrick Dempsey a lot of grief because he had this fancy coffee, and it was this very American coffee with churned butter in it. And I teased him for weeks, going, "Who do you think you are?" You know. And then he went, "Have a sip." And I had a sip, and it was just the most delicious coffee I've ever had. And he laughed at me, and I started laughing because I realised I needed to be on the other side. So I would demand that he and his assistant bought me this ridiculous coffee every day. And it's so good. I know it sounds ironic, but it is nourishing and delicious. They were all pretty funny. I mean, I spent most of my time with Renee, and she is funny. She's funny. I watched, it was a masterclass in comic acting. She had to fall over a lot and watch how she did it and learn a lot. But just chatting like girls, telling each other all our intimate stories, and yeah, she's got a lot of them.
My funniest memory was when we were shooting the christening scenes. It wasn't strictly speaking on set. I think they were working downstairs filming Renee and Colin. But there were about 10 of us who were all the same kind of comedy, you know, class of whatever, 2000, like Jessica Hines, Julian Rhind-Tutt, Ben Willibon, Dolly Wells, and we were in that room for about 3 days. Making it smell, doing crosswords, laughing at each other, being idiots, basically regressing to the age of about 13 and being very childish. That was one of my highlights. And the thing that was really funny about it was that these are all people who have now won loads and loads of BAFTAs, and none of us had any lines. And so if you look in the background of some of the very important, I mean, you save till you've seen this like the third or fourth time to do this, because you really ought to concentrate on Renee and Colin because they're so good and the story's about them. But in the background you see some like really shameful overacting as people try to get noticed by the camera. People who are used to being the leads are now in the deep, deep background of no importance to the story whatsoever. But yeah, mucking about.
Lots of funny memories from filming. I always find sex quite funny. I'm very adolescent about filming sex and sort of put lots of technology when it comes to filming sex. So when I was filming Colin and Renee, you know, being Darcy and Bridget having sex, I had a huge techno crane in the room which was like all around so that I could concentrate all my attentions on that and not have to look at what's going on in there. And then I get very giggly about sex, you know, so that's always quite funny. And then Renee starts giggling, and so the whole thing's just useless. So the other funny thing to film was the two men trying to get her to the hospital, because every time we took the camera out on this, we filmed it in winter, there was a storm with a name, you know, so Storm Clifford or Storm Herbert or something. So every time we were trying to film it, and Colin Firth had to carry her so far, and those pregnancy bellies that they have to wear are ridiculously heavy. They're 5 times heavier than a baby. So every time he lifted her up, it was really quite hard, and he wasn't acting. So, and I kept making him come more and more, we need more, we need more, we need more. But I don't think he found it as funny as we did.